Welcome back to the deep dive. Now, if you're visiting Osaka, chances are your focus is, the big spots, Dotonbori, Shinsaibashi, all that glorious chaos.
And it is glorious. You can't deny that. But sometimes that energy, it overshadows these other areas. Places with incredible sort of quiet historical depth.
Exactly. And today we're doing a bit of a cultural dig into one such place, Higashiyodogawa Ward. Often overlooked, really.
It really is. Most guides might just label it an unassuming residential core, lacking the flash.
But we found that its low profile is actually its superpower. It opens the door to a different kind of travel experience.
Mm-hmm. Something we've been calling quiet luxury.
Yeah, let's define that straight away. We're not talking about five-star hotels here.
No, not at all. It's about finding that deep, uncommercialized history, the stuff you have to actively seek out, far from the tourist crowds.
Our mission today is basically to give you a shortcut to that depth. We're calling it the Whispers of the Naniwa Ancient Path.
And to really get it, you need to understand the ground itself, literally. The ward sits on the right bank of the Yodo River.
Right.
And it's bounded by two other rivers, the Kanzaki and the Ai. This geography is key.
Because the whole area goes way back, doesn't it? To the ancient Naniwa 8 islands, Mamba Yasoshima.
That's right. This whole flat landscape you see now, it's basically built up from centuries of river silt, flooding, sedimentation.
Wow, so the modern streets are literally layered on top of this ancient shifting river delta.
Exactly. It connects the present directly to these constantly changing ancient waterways.
And even its more recent history needs a closer look. You mentioned a split.
Yeah, in 1974, the western part broke off, became Yodogawa Ward.
Okay.
And that means some of the historical stories, like the Nagara Hitobashira legend about river sacrifices, well, the narrative got kind of dispersed.
So you have to piece it together yourself. No easy summary plaque.
Pretty much. You need to slow down, look for the connections the standard guides just miss.
Okay, let's dive into our first story then. This one involves, well, whales and ethics. We're starting at Zuikouji Temple.
Said to be founded by Prince Shotoku himself. Very old.
And it has this incredible artifact, the Seikekyu, the snow whale bridge.
Yeah, this is genuinely rare. Possibly the only bridge in the world built using actual whale bones as part of the structure.
Real whale bones, structurally.
Real whale bones. And because they're organic, it needs upkeep. The latest rebuild, the 7th one, was just in 2019.
So why whale bones? What's the story there?
It goes back to 1756. The abbot at Zuikouji heard about a fishing village down in Wakayama.
Okay.
They were in crisis, no fish, facing starvation. So the abbot prayed for them fervently.
And the legend says.
Shortly after, a massive pod of whales appeared near the village, saved them, essentially.
Wow.
So in gratitude, the villagers donated the bones from those whales to the temple.
Right, but it wasn't just a thank you gift, was it? There's more to it.
Exactly. This is where the Japanese concept of kus comes in. The bones weren't used to boast or as a trophy. The abbot used them specifically to pray for the repose of the whales. It's about respect, moral compensation for the life taken.
That feels profound, especially compared to how we often consume things today without a second thought.
It really does. Seeing that bridge made from the very creatures that sustain the village, it's a physical act of ongoing prayer. A structural apology, almost.
You're looking at ethics made tangible.
Pretty much. And this dialogue isn't just ancient history. For the 2019 reconstruction ceremony, students from Taiji Town, the famous whaling town, were apparently invited to participate.
Really? So that conversation about ethics, culture, life,
Yeah.
it's still happening right there.
Absolutely. It makes visiting Zuikouji a really deep, quite complex experience, not just a quick photo op.
Okay, moving from the sea to, well, the foundations of Japanese humanism, let's talk Sugawara Tenmangu Shrine.
Ah, yes. Hugely important. Revered as the oldest Tenmangu Shrine in Japan.
And the birthplace of Sugawara no Michizaen, the deity of scholarship.
Right. But its significance goes even deeper. It also honors Nomi no Sukuna no Mikoto, an ancestor of the Sugawara clan.
And he's tied to some pivotal moments in Japanese history.
Two massive ones, really. First, a huge leap in human compassion.
Go on.
Okay, so back then, the custom was junshi. When an emperor or empress died, living attendants were buried alive with them. Barbaric.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When Emperor Suinan's empress died, Nomi no Sukuna argued against it. He proposed using clay figures, haniwa, instead of living people.
He advocated abolishing human sacrifice?
Successfully, it was a monumental shift towards valuing human dignity in early Japan.
And that change is linked to this specific place.
Directly. The clan settled right here. They used the local red clay and pine trees from this area to make the first haniwa.
So the end of a brutal practice and the start of a more humane one is physically rooted right here in Higashiyodogawa.
Using local materials, yes. It's not just about Michizune's scholarship, it's about the origins of compassion in Japanese culture.
That's incredible. And the second pivot point.
Well, he's also credited as the founder of sumo wrestling.
Seriously, sumo too.
Yep. After winning a legendary trial of strength. So, standing at that shrine, you're at this nexus of humanism, scholarship, and the national sport.
That completely reframes the idea of an unassuming residential core.
Doesn't it?
Now, for someone visiting, are there specific, tangible things to look for? Hidden gems.
Definitely. First, there's the first bath pond, the Ubuyu Ike.
Where Michizane was supposedly bathed as a baby.
That's the tradition. It's still there, just about 100 meters east of the shrine, a small pond, but it offers this incredibly intimate link to the legend.
A quiet little spot with huge significance.
Exactly. And then there's a specific date, June 25th.
What happens then?
That's the Usoka Shinji, the bullfinch exchange ritual.
Okay, bullfinch exchange.
Yeah, and here's the clever part. The Japanese word for the bullfinch bird is uso, which is also the word for lie or falsehood.
I see where this is going. Wordplay.
Classic Japanese wordplay. So during the ritual, you exchange these little bullfinch tokens.
And you're symbolically exchanging.
You're turning uso, lies, bad luck from the past year, into good fortune and truth. It's a spiritual conversion, a purification.
Wow, that's a very specific, very local kind of experience. You wouldn't just stumble upon that.
Not likely. It requires planning, effort. That's part of that quiet luxury. The reward is the unique experience itself, not just convenience.
Right. Okay, let's shift gears from ancient history to something very modern, very functional. The Kunijima Waterworks Plant.
Built in 1914, this is the engine room, basically, supplying water to a huge part of Osaka.
Not exactly your typical tourist destination.
You wouldn't think so, but the grounds of this active municipal facility, they hold a really famous cherry blossom spot.
Famous, but
exclusive, highly exclusive. Because it is a working plant, they only open it to the public for a very short time each spring, like a really limited window.
You have to catch it just right.
Exactly, and that scarcity creates something quite special. The trees form this beautiful pink tunnel.
And presumably fewer crowds than, say, Osaka Castle Park.
Way fewer crowds. It's quieter, more serene. It forces you to think, actually.
About what?
About infrastructure and beauty. You're enjoying this peak natural moment, the blossoms, right there within the city's essential machinery.
Huh. Infrastructure aesthetics. Finding beauty in the functional heart of the city.
Yeah, it challenges that assumption that beauty has to be separate from utility. Here, they coexist in this really unique, temporary way, finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
That idea of quietness, finding peace, it leads nicely into our next area. Looking for markers of time, both spiritual and physical.
Let's talk about seeking silence. First, there's Sozenji Temple.
Another ancient one.
Ferry, dates back to the 8th century, almost as old as Shitennoji, the famous one. But Sozenji offers this huge, green, quiet space, 16,000 square meters. It feels like a sanctuary.
And nearby, there's another shrine you mentioned, Nakajima Sosha Shrine.
Yes, and this one is fascinating because it's almost actively anti-tourism. They deliberately discourage things like big photo shoots, selfies, and especially there's no gift shop vibe, no consumerism.
They're making a statement.
A very clear one. The message is, this place exists for its spiritual function, for quiet thought, introspection, maybe a digital detox.
In today's world, that's rare. An uncommercialized space purely for contemplation.
It really meets a modern need, I think. But beyond spiritual silence, there are also physical echoes of the past, relics of old transport.
Like the river crossings.
Exactly. Before the big modern bridges, people relied on ferries, watashi. The Hito watashi was a vital link for the community here, crossing the Yodo River.
Just part of daily life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it was abolished in 1970.
Why then?
The Toyosato Bridge was built. Huge, modern, efficient. But it ended that older, perhaps more intimate way of crossing. It marks that big shift towards rapid modernization around the time of the Osaka Expo.
Does any trace of the ferry remain?
Yes. On both banks of the Yodo, you can find these silent memorial stones, watashikuchi high. They mark the exact spots where the ferry used to dock.
Wow. Quiet markers of a lost connection. You'd have to really look for them.
You would. And you can also find old stone signposts, dushi, dotted around the ward, like near Zuikouji.
What do they show?
They show old directions. But importantly, they often point towards temples or Jizu statues. Navigation wasn't just about streets, it was linked to faith, to local landmarks. It paints a picture of a lost community structure.
A whole different mental map of the area.
Completely. So if you put all these pieces together,
What's the big picture?
Higashiyodogawa offers this incredibly rich, quiet, cultural experience. It's an alternative to the high-energy mainstream. It's about connecting deeply with specific stories, not just ticking off famous sites.
It really is that quiet luxury cultural travel.
Precisely.
So we've gone from 18th century whale ethics at Sozenji to the roots of humanism and sumo at Tenmangu,
Found surprising beauty at the waterworks.
and traced silence and lost paths at Sozenji, Nakajima, Sosha, and the old ferry crossings.
The real takeaway is that this unassuming ward holds layers of history, right there, hidden in plain sight. You just need to slow down and, look differently. Ask different questions.
It requires a bit more effort, maybe, but the payoff is a much deeper, more reflective experience.
Definitely.
We started this deep dive talking about how this whole area was built on the shifting sands of the ancient Naniwa 8 Islands, shaped by the rivers over millennia.
That ancient geography is still quite literally the foundation.
So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. Wherever you are right now, what ancient landscape lies beneath the pavement? What layers of history, maybe just as profound as Higashiyodogawa's, are hidden just beneath your feet, waiting for a closer look? Something to think about. Dig deeper.